Hi and welcome back to Chuck's Tuesday Tips. Today we're going to do a couple of head swaps. You know how I'm always running my mouth about you can turn something into something else. I need to do a bobcat that's looking back, and couldn't find a mannequin that was a bobcat in the catalog, and research didn't have the right pose. So I just got this fox here that's the same pose, and I'm going to cut the head off and make it into a bobcat. So just whack your head off. Now one thing okay, don't do that. Make sure it's level. Kind of cut it a little crooked because so I'll just even that out a little bit. There we go. I have my chart here that has my neck length. I already pre-measured it. It's pretty much the same length. The only problem is that this head, obviously, it's not just going to transpose. So I have to use another hunk of foam off that head wherever it went. Where did I throw it to? Here it is. No. What the heck did I do with it? Where'd that fox head go? Oh, there it is. So I'll just make me a little wedge. Let's see how this works. Yeah, it's still a little bit too high. I mean, it's like really important to get this right. We can line up the lines here too to get it the right attitude. There's a mold line there, so I'm going to go with that. We're going to blow it off to get the dust off. We're going to Bondo that on, and while that's doing it, I'm going to change out a deer head. So mix up a little Bondo. No extra charge for the foam dust they put in it. I like to mix it a little hot because you don't want to sit there and wait for 9 hours or however many hours it takes. I use whatever I have to mix it. Some people have little rubber bowls they reuse. Some people use cardboard. I'm using this piece of paper because it was here. So we'll put a little dab on here. A little dab on our wedge. Line that line up there. Put a little on here. If I do this right, maybe I can use this on the other one too. Okay, so that line is lined up. I'll pin that there. I kind of lost the line in the front. That little wedge piece. Okay, there we go. Now obviously this isn't all clean, so when the Bondo's done, right when it gets rubbery, we'll come in and reshape this all nice. So that's gonna work for that. Meantime, I got this monster mule deer here. Got a really heavy head, really heavy. I ordered a special head from Research that you have to ask for it. But every once in a while you get a really old buck that has a genuine heavy head. Here's the headgear that's going on it. This is a monster. 217 net out of New Mexico, and they want to put it in their magazine and all that. So rather than spend time building up a heavy head, I'm just gonna decapitate this one. You can see this is a big buck here, but this one's just a lot heavier, a lot more mature. I could build this one up, but I decided not to. And again, it's important to blow the dust off. Again, put the butter on both sides of the buns. So, yep. There we go. Now again, you know, I don't like this head angle, but I'm not going to deal with that right now. For this tip, I'll just basically, this should have just swapped out. Now again, you can use the mold line here to make sure you're level. And if you want, you can darken it with a marker. Come down here, put a pin in there. I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's the same. Just an optical illusion. The head is so heavy. That's what you got to watch on your. Sometimes things are deceiving. Another thing I forgot to mention, I mentioned it in my other tips. This pipe is level and squared to this line in the wall. So I line up this line on the mannequin, front and bottom, with this line right here. And then I know that I'm good to go up and down. And that's just a time-saving thing you can do in your shop. A lot of guys have random things they move. I used to move it all over the place, but now I planted it. And I got it centered in my big pipe for my big game. I got that centered too, so when you are going to go ahead to set the antlers on, all you have to do, you know, is put your bubble level. Boy, see that head is that heavy. You know, what a buck. Then of course I have reference charts, because I got to measure this one. And then, excuse me, Matt, follow me around. And of course, we got a lot of photographs of this buck that Howard took. There's a guy with the horns. There it is in the field. Flat reference is not usually reliable, but if you can get, you know, some pictures, most of the place shot all these big things in 1 year. Where'd the rest of them go? Oh, there they are. Nope. Yep, nope. There we go. There's a profile. So now if you look at that profile, you know, you can see the heaviness in it, even though there's a lot of hair on there, which changes the looks. If you look at some of these bucks here, no hair on these early bucks. There's a lot of optical illusions, but you can definitely see the thickness in that head. Okay, our Bondo's getting nice and rubbery here. See? So you got to time it just right. If you start too soon, it'll you might bust off the neck and all that. But if you wait too long, it'll turn into a rock. So you just come in with your Sureform or whatever you want to use. And reshape it. And we got a little issue down here. Well, we'll put a little mache or something for that gap. The reason that you would want to use mache, I mean, you could use clay, but if you use mache or Bondo, when you have a little indentation you want to fill in, it won't collapse. But like if you were to blend this in with clay, let me give you an example. Say we fill this in, made it nice and pretty. Okay, when we put our skin on, the clay is it's smushy. In other words, you can dent it or push it in the skin, and then you'd have to like move it back around to that's why I use the shape. Now again, here, come in and blend it as much as possible to the line. And here, you know, I just want all the lines here. Blend it. Try and just keep the shape. This thing's going to have so much hair that it's you might not see what's going on underneath, but you want to kind of keep it as accurate, you know, as you can, because things just work better that way, you know. Now, after I told you not to use clay on this one, I would just smooth that little bit with clay, because it's not enough to make any difference, you know, because you're just going to have just a transition. So I would just call that like a smoothing clay. But anyway, changing heads out are simple. It's just, you know, just one way to make your life easier and to expand, you know, expand your abilities a little bit, to open your mind and kind of think outside the box a little bit and not limit yourself to just the availability in the book of what do I do if it's not this size or that size. Because honest to God, a cat and a fox, it's so close it doesn't make a difference, like within a 1/4 inch. You know, I don't think you'd want to take a horse and make it into a fox, but you might have to. I don't know. You never know. There might be one that big. But generally the idea is you're matching up the shape, making sure it's close. It doesn't really matter what the yellow is. You're going to cover it with fur anyway. So you just need something to go inside it that's going to work for you. Anyway, thanks for tuning into the tip. We're trying to get back on regular schedule. I said that like 5,000 times, but this time I almost really mean it. So we'll see you next week on Chuck's Tuesday Tips.